There are predators who do not bare their teeth. They smile, they flatter, they feed on you. And the more radiant your light, the more invisible their hunger becomes. In this lesson, we will strip away the mask, expose their appetite, and arm you with the only weapon they fear, the ability to see them before they strike. Most imagined betrayal comes with a dagger. Fools, the most skilled thieves of the soul, will never touch a blade. They will touch your trust. Empaths, you walk into the world offering light, thinking it strengthens others. But in the shadows, there are those who do not want strength. They want supply. They will mirror your virtues, echo your kindness, and leave you believing you are saving them, when in truth, you are feeding them. Today, we dissect their craft, the architecture of their hunger, and the methods by which you can reclaim what they believe they own: your energy, your mind, and your will. They will not come to you with claws. No, the clever predator never shows its teeth. It shows you an open hand, it smiles, it appears wounded. And that, my friend, is why so many of you never see it coming. You think a predator must look dangerous, that its eyes must betray malice. But the most dangerous of all understand that fear closes doors, and they want yours wide open. Consider the court of Renaissance Italy. Power was not held by the strongest sword, but by the most convincing mask. Many rulers who seemed humble, pious, and selfless were in truth the hungriest for control. Their weakness was an act, an illusion designed to soften suspicion and invite trust. The same game is played today, only the battlefield has changed. No marble palace, no gilded throne. Now it's your social circles, your workplace, your relationships. You, the empath, see someone in distress and instinctively step forward. You tell yourself you are helping. But what if their distress is staged? What if their fragility is their weapon? Ask yourself, have you ever met someone who always seems to need saving? Who arrives in your life as a tragic figure, spilling their sorrows, yet somehow never actually changes? This is the predator's disguised weakness as a hook. It works because empaths are trained by society, by morality, by pride, to value selflessness. You are told that helping the vulnerable is a mark of virtue, and it is when the vulnerability is real. But when it is not, you are not helping. You are feeding. The seasoned manipulator studies you before they make their move. They learn what tugs at your heart. They craft a narrative that fits your instinct to rescue. And then they sit back and let you do the work of your own undoing. Think of Cesare Borgia, a man many called a monster. He did not need to appear strong when strength would provoke resistance. He let others underestimate him. He let them believe they were the ones with advantage. And when the moment came, when trust was deep and vigilance low, he acted. His enemies never saw the knife until it was in their back. Your modern predator is no different. They may play the role of the loyal friend until you notice you're carrying their burdens while yours go unseen. They may play the role of the helpless partner until you realize your life has been reorganized entirely around their needs. By then, the damage is done. The disguise has served its purpose. Why is this mask so effective? Because it is not an act of strength, it is an act of patience, and patience is a rare weapon. While you are eager to give, they are willing to wait. They will wait as long as it takes for you to believe the lie. And once you believe it, you will defend them against any accusation. You will even defend them against yourself. And here lies the most dangerous truth. When the predator wears weakness, they don't just steal your resources, they steal your identity as a giver. They corrupt it. They make you question whether you can trust your own empathy again. That is their true victory. So what is the defense? You do not stop giving. That would make you like them. Empty, calculating, cold without purpose. Instead, you learn to see past the surface. You ask the question they hope you never ask: is their need genuine, or is it their bait? Do not expect them to answer honestly. The answer must come from your own observation, your own refusal to be hurried into sympathy. Watch their patterns, not their words. Measure what they take against what they give. And if you find the scale tipped entirely in their favor, you are not looking at the weak. You are looking at the wolf who learned to limp, and the wolf is still hungry. Predators do not need your money. They need something far more valuable: your attention, your belief, your energy. These things cannot be stolen in one blow. They must be drawn out, drop by drop, until you no longer realize they are gone. This is the art of emotional harvesting, and it begins not with an attack, but with an invitation. Think of the seasoned fisherman. He does not leap into the water and wrestle the prey with his hands. He drops the bait, he waits, he lets the fish take the first bite. The manipulator works the same way. They provoke an emotion, pity, guilt, admiration, and let you swim toward the hook. Once you are close enough, they create a rhythm. Push, pull, push, pull. They give just enough warmth, just enough praise, just enough closeness to keep you tied to them. Then they withdraw. They grow cold. They create a void. And you, driven by the discomfort, rush to fill it. It is in that moment of chasing their approval that the harvest begins. History is rich with such tactics. In the courts of Florence, there were men who never asked for power directly. They made themselves indispensable in small ways. They offered counsel. They offered flattery. Then they disappeared, forcing rulers to seek them out, to feel the absence. That absence was a weapon. In modern terms, the manipulator will pull away not because they are hurt, but because they want you unsettled. They want you thinking about them. They want to control the emotional climate of your mind. Do you see how dangerous this is? Once they can create emotional weather inside you, sun when they wish to warm you, storms when they wish to weaken you. They no longer need to argue, to convince, or to force. You will adjust yourself to their climate without even noticing. The harvest is not always obvious. Sometimes it is slow and subtle, a daily draining of your focus, a quiet shaping of your priorities. They might use your guilt to keep you near, or your pride to keep you invested in helping them. And the cruelest tactic, they recycle your own empathy against you. When you show compassion, they memorize the pattern. They learn which words make you open your heart, which silences make you uncomfortable, which crises make you drop everything. Then they recreate these situations, not because they need help, but because they know you will answer. They create a loop: you give, they receive, they retreat, you give again. Each cycle leaves you a little weaker. Each return feels like relief, even though it is only the end of a storm they created. Machiavelli once observed that it is better to control men through their desires than through their fears. Because a man will run from fear, but he will walk willingly toward what he desires. The manipulator understands this. They offer the promise of closeness, understanding, or even salvation, and you chase it until you are too tired to notice you've been walking in circles. The key to their success is not force, it is predictability. They can predict your responses more accurately than you can, and once you are predictable, you are controllable. Ask yourself, how many times have you excused someone's withdrawal by blaming yourself? How many times have you justified giving again because this time will be different? This is the harvest in its purest form, not taking by demand, but by conditioning you to hand over what they want before they even ask. And when they have taken enough, they will disappear until hunger brings them back to the same field they once drained. Perhaps you. Gold is not the only currency of power. There is another, one rarer, more sought after, and infinitely easier to take from those who do not know its value. It is your light. By light, I do not mean the rays of the sun, nor some poetic glow in the sky. I mean the force that radiates from you when you believe, when you care, when you give without keeping score. This is the resource predators hunt. You think your light is an endless well. It is not. Every time you extend compassion, every time you pour energy into another, you spend from this hidden treasury. The clever know this, and they do not waste their time trying to mine from the hard and bitter. There is little there to take. They seek the radiant, the generous, the unguarded. In the courts of power, this was always understood. Look at the way kings treated their most loyal advisors. They would flatter them, elevate them, surround them with honors. Why? Because their loyalty was a resource. The moment that loyalty dimmed, so did their usefulness. and when the resource was depleted, the king would discard them like a dry well. The same happens to you, but on a quieter stage. Your light becomes a bargaining chip in the manipulator's economy. They trade on it. They use it to buy sympathy from others. They wear your kindness as proof of their worth, holding it up to the world as if it were theirs. Have you ever noticed how a certain person's reputation seems far brighter than their deeds? That is often because they are spending your light as their own. The danger is that this economy is invisible to you. You think you are simply helping, understanding, being a good friend, but what you are actually doing is investing in someone who never plans to return the payment. And just like gold, once your light is spent, it is gone. They may repay you in words. They may repay you in gratitude, but neither of these replenish what they have taken. Gratitude is cheap. Energy is costly. In the politics of Florence, I saw men rise not because they were great leaders, but because they fed off the brilliance of those around them. They knew how to attach themselves to someone who shone, absorbing the glory by proximity. When the source of light was exhausted, either by age, betrayal, or exhaustion, they moved on to the next beacon. Your predator operates the same way. They will stand in your glow until it blinds others to their shadows. They will point to your loyalty as proof of their virtue, and all the while, they will drain you until you no longer recognize the person you were before they arrived. This is why you must see your light as a finite resource, like coin, like time, like breath. You must decide who is worthy of it. Not all who ask should receive. Ask yourself, if your light were gold, would you give it so freely? Would you hand it over to someone who gives nothing in return? To the manipulator, your light is not a blessing. It is currency. It buys them status. It buys them security. It buys them power over you. And here lies the cruelest irony. Once they have drained you, they will speak of you as if you failed them, as if your dimming was a flaw, when in truth, it was theft. A predator survives because you cannot see them. They thrive in the shadows of your doubt, your compassion, your reluctance to confront. So, the question is simple. How do you make a predator reveal itself without a single accusation? You turn the mirror. The most effective trap is the one where the prey walks into it willingly. In politics, war, and human affairs, this is always true. The wise strategist knows that forcing an enemy into the open with direct attack invites resistance. But if you can create the conditions for them to step into the light themselves, you win without a battle. This tactic is ancient. In the intrigues of Florence, rivals were rarely defeated with swords. They were undone with questions. Small ones, harmless ones, until their own words betrayed them. It works because deception requires control. A manipulator must control the story, the pace, and your perception. Break that control, and the mask begins to slip. So how do you do it? You create reflection. Instead of challenging their motives directly, you reflect their actions back to them. Calmly, factually, without judgment. You repeat their words in a neutral tone. You ask them to explain contradictions they thought you didn't notice. For example, someone tells you they value honesty, yet you've seen them twist the truth for advantage. You don't accuse them of lying. You simply say, "Earlier, you said honesty was important to you. How does that fit with what you told me yesterday?" That is a mirror, and it forces them into one of two positions: reveal the truth or invent a new lie in real time. Both are dangerous for them. You are not attacking. They cannot accuse you of hostility. You are only seeking clarity. And yet, each question is a torch held to their mask. The beauty of this tactic is that it uses their own need for control against them. A manipulator's ego will not allow silence. They must fill it. They must explain. And with each explanation, the cracks widen. This is how powerful families in Renaissance Italy destroyed rivals without war. They would invite them to councils, ask them to elaborate on harmless points, then watch as arrogance or fear exposed the schemes they thought were hidden. You, too, can use this method. When someone drains you, when their presence feels heavier than it should, do not rush to accuse. Instead, slow the game. Remove emotional reaction. Ask questions that require them to place their own actions under the same light they have placed yours. You will see it in their eyes. The flicker, the calculation, the moment they realize you are no longer the predictable source of energy they once harvested freely. This is when their behavior changes. Some will retreat entirely, fearing the exposure. Others will lash out, claiming you have changed, that you are cold or distant. A good. That means the mirror is working. Understand this. Turning the mirror is not about punishing them. It is about reclaiming control. You are no longer dancing to their rhythm. They are now reacting to yours. And if they react violently, that too is a revelation. You have confirmation of what you suspected, delivered not by your accusation, but by their own performance. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler should let others reveal their own ambitions, for in doing so, they write the charge against themselves. The same is true here. Never forget, the predator depends on your blindness. When you turn the mirror, you force them to see themselves, and more importantly, you force them to know that you see them too. And once they know you see them, everything changes. Every predator needs a tether. It is rarely made of rope. It is not forged of iron. It is woven from something far stronger. Your own willingness to stay connected. This is the invisible thread. They do not hold you by chains. They hold you by habit, by memory, by the hope that maybe, this time, things will be different. And because the thread is invisible, you mistake it for choice. You think you are free, while every step you take still traces the line back to them. Understand this. A manipulator does not need to be near you to control you. They only need to live in your mind. This is why so many victims of political betrayal still defended their betrayers. In the courts of Florence, I saw men banished by those they once served, yet still speak of their old master with loyalty. Why? Because the master had planted himself so deeply in their sense of identity, they could not imagine life without him. That is the brilliance of the thread. It is not just tied to your heart, but to your very self-image. So how do you cut it? Not with anger, not with revenge. Those emotions still point toward them, and if you are still oriented toward them, you are still bound. You cut it with silence. The silence that is not cold rage, but deliberate withdrawal. You do not announce it. You do not warn them. You simply close the gates, and you keep them closed. In war, the most effective siege is not the swift assault. It is the blockade. The enemy starves not because you fight them daily, but because you deny them access entirely. Your silence is the blockade. Do not answer their messages. Do not explain yourself. Every word you give them is another thread they can tug. Every explanation you offer is an opening to weave themselves back into your mind. They will test the blockade. They will send small probes, a memory, a joke, an apology. Understand, these are not gestures of reconciliation. They are supply lines. If you respond, you reopen the gate. And predators know they only need one open gate to regain control. This is why most fail to sever the thread completely. They mistake partial distance for freedom. But a thread is not cut until there is nothing left connecting you. Not a daily check, not a holiday greeting, nothing. When the Sforza family wanted to remove a political rival from influence, they did not arrest him. They simply removed his access to court, his allies, his voice in decisions. He withered in obscurity, not because they fought him, but because they refused to feed him attention. You must do the same. But here is the challenge. The first weeks of silence are not the hardest. The hardest moment is when they act as if they have let go first. When they pretend your withdrawal means nothing. This is when your pride wants to prove that you were the one who left. Resist it. The point of severing the thread is not to win their recognition. It is to reclaim the energy they once harvested without cost. And when you succeed, something remarkable happens. The tether is gone not just in action, but in thought. Their shadow no longer falls across your decisions. Their voice no longer echoes in your doubts. They are still out there, still hungry. But you are outside their reach. The game is no longer theirs to play. And in the next lesson, you will learn how to ensure they never find another thread to tie to you again. Power is never taken by force alone. The finest control is invisible. The subject believes they are free, while moving exactly where you wish them to go. You do not chain the body. You guide the mind. You feed what they crave. You starve what you wish to kill. The most loyal servant is not the one who fears you, but the one who believes serving you was their idea. Do you see it now? Influence without ownership. Dominion without display. This is not kindness. It is precision. The question is, will you remain the piece on the board, or will you learn to play the game? Comment your thoughts. Not for me, for the ones who will read them. Subscribe if you wish to keep your edge sharp while others grow dull. And share this lesson, not to feed the algorithm, but to plant the seed of control in someone else's mind. Power spreads quietly. Let it be yours.